Speaking of born, cheers. What do you think of this one?
I like it.
You do? This is made in Saitama. One of our fans gave this to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Nakataya. Yeah, Nakataya in where is it from? Irima. Yeah, it's from Irima in Saitama, so
Really?
you can get that there.
I still haven't been to Saitama.
I've been to Saitama twice.
Have you?
Yeah.
I think I don't really travel around Kanto all that much. Like I mean, obviously I've been to Chiba because I mean everyone's been to Chiba, right?
Yeah, right.
And then I've been up to Gunma. What is it? Is it Kusatsu? Is that the
Kusatsu Onsen? Yeah.
That's up in Gunma. So I've been there, and then Kanagawa.
Okay.
And then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, so I went up to Saitama once for work.
Yeah.
And I went to the boonies. I went to a place called like Kumagaya because like Sumitomo Chemical has a plant there.
Yeah, I actually have friends who live up there.
Really?
Yeah, up in Kumagaya.
It's just fields, man.
Yeah. He's shown me pictures.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. One buddy, I don't talk to him all that much these days. He's kind of settled in with his family and just kind of hangs out over there. But
is he a foreigner?
Yeah. So he's from Scotland, and
is it the guy I met at the wedding?
No.
Okay.
That's another Scottish.
That's another Scottish guy. Okay.
But this guy, he actually when he moved over here, so he majored in Japanese, and he specifically didn't want to date a person who spoke English.
Okay.
So he set a goal to like move out as far away from the city as possible.
Okay.
In hopes that he would find someone who just had no idea how to speak English because he wanted to improve his Japanese.
Sure.
And so he got married and
mission
settled
accomplished.
It's like, it was such a funny story because
Yeah.
he was just like, yeah, man, I moved out to the countryside because I didn't want a wife who spoke English. It's
Man.
like, huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's that important to you. Okay, cool. Well, but speaking of wife getting married and families, you have an important.
Yes. So my wife gave birth to a baby girl this past week. It's been a long week.
Yeah.
I have flown on the plane 4 times in the past 5 days. No, actually 6 times.
6 times in the past 5 days?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. We've been back and forth. Initially, I went on paternity leave for 2 weeks, and then I flew back, and then I got a message like, "Oh, your wife might be going back into labor. You got to fly out here." So I flew back out there.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened. I was like, "Okay, well, I can't miss work. I need to go back."
Yeah.
So I flew back Sunday night, and then all of a sudden, my wife goes into labor. On. Literally the next day at 3 a.m.
Man.
And it's like, all right, well, back out there again.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh my God.
This is why you should get a remote working job, man. Yeah, to help you. But yeah, man, so tell us what happened. So you got the news.
Yeah.
And what happened from the news until now?
So like giving birth is like a really different experience here in Japan. I mean, obviously I haven't had a child in the US, but my family's had children. Like my sister has 2 kids, and so I know people who've had kids, so I kind of understand what the process is in the US. And let me explain what it is in the US, and then I'll talk about the experience here. So when I was born, when my mom gave birth to me, she went in the hospital and she was just in and out in the same day.
Same day?
I think it was either the same day or it was the next day.
What?
But it was just like, boom, in and out, birth's done. Why are you in the hospital still?
Wow, okay.
And that's pretty normal in the US. Like the reason for being is they kind of explain that it's like, hospitals are kind of dangerous places for people. Like odds are the more time you spend in the hospital, the higher chances of getting sick you have.
Yeah, right.
Right? And that's particularly dangerous for somebody who just gave birth and a newborn child, right? So the idea is like get you out of the hospital as fast as possible.
That's why, okay.
Yeah. Just so you're away from, the potential risk, right? But in Japan, it's not that way.
Yeah.
So the average thing in Japan is like usually women will stay for like a week.
Yeah, Natsumi was there for a week.
Yeah. So it's like a really crazy experience because part of this is because of COVID.
Yeah.
her family members aren't allowed to see her.
Yeah.
So only her husband and her mom are allowed to see. So
not her dad?
Her dad wasn't allowed. No.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Her sister couldn't see my daughter either. So it's like half of the family, like they've just seen pictures.
Yeah.
And so it's like me and my mother-in-law now are the only people who've like actually held my daughter.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, well, so for COVID restrictions for me, so when I had Lewis and then we had Leo, both cases, so Lewis was in the middle of COVID in 2020.
Yeah.
And no one was allowed to go in. Like, you were not allowed to go in. So
not even you?
No, I wasn't able to go in.
Really?
I had to, so basically, he was born and she would send me pictures of him and videos every day. And then a week later, I met them at the hospital. I couldn't go in, so I waited at the entrance to take him home.
That's heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, right?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I felt bad because, I wasn't able to witness my daughter being born.
Yeah, right. I know that was really important.
Luckily, my wife did. She blows my mind.
Yeah.
How strong of a person she is. Literally minutes after giving birth, she video called me.
What?
And she's just like, "Here's your baby."
Wow.
I'm just like, dude, how do you have this?
I know, right?
So yeah, it was crazy. She was in labor for I think 17 hours.
17 hours. Wow.
Like
okay. And how heavy was Luna?
She's a chonker.
She
is a big baby. She was born at 3,800 grams.
Man.
So that's 3.8 kilograms.
Yeah.
Which I think translates to something like 8.5 pounds.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's a big baby.
Yeah. That is a big baby. Yeah. 8 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's really popular with all like the nurses right now. Like I'm because like she's all the way in Oita, so like I'm sure they don't get a lot of mixed babies all that often. So it's like a big deal.
Yeah, it was like Lewis too. Like actually, so Lewis was known as like the big baby because he was 3,900.
Yeah,
and then Leo was the same weight, so he became like the other big baby, And it's like, oh wow, he's just like your firstborn, Like they remembered him,
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, the doctor's wife. It's really cool. She gave birth at this like really small local clinic.
Yeah.
And so the doctor brought his wife in, and she was super excited. And actually, my mother-in-law kind of complained because she was so excited to talk about the baby that she kind of just talked to my mother-in-law the whole time. She's like, okay, that's great. Yeah. I'd like to hold my granddaughter now.
Right.
So she's like, she talked a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But it was super fun. I did not realize how much paperwork is required for babies.
Yeah.
Like
what? Like so tell me about your paperwork process. I'm curious about this.
So first of all, I don't really know what I'm doing, first of all. But also, like, in my mind, when babies were born, I thought it was just like, all right, cool. Yep. You just write their name on a little paper and be like, this is their name. They were a human being. We're done. We're taking our baby now. No. That's not how this goes. In true Japan style, there's a mountain of paperwork that is required to fill out to tell the world that you have a child now. And so I've just started approaching that, and actually I have no idea what to do.
Yeah. It's funny because in the States, right, I think it's the hospitals will give you a birth certificate.
So that's the thing. I was actually explaining that to my wife's family is like, they were like, oh yeah, you got to go register a baby in Kanagawa. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, usually when you're at the hospital, that's like one of the first things you take care of. Is the hospital will prepare the documents, and then you as the parent just kind of fill out the documents at the hospital.
Right.
But you don't do that here.
Yeah, it's funny because there's no birth certificates. They just have the Koseki Toho here, the family registry. So you actually so what I had to do is within 2 weeks of Lewis being born, or Leo being born too, we had to I had to go to the Kawasaki, Kuyakusho. Yeah. And I had to do like, what was it called? Shusan Todoke. I had to like declare that he was born. Yeah. And you have to do that two weeks, and otherwise you don't get like the benefits. So one thing that's great about Japan is like the children benefits. No, you get the benefits later. They get delayed. They're delayed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I still got to get on that.
But dude, Kawasaki's great. Kawasaki is giving us like $200 a month for Lewis still.
Oh, really?
Still. and he's almost 3, right?
I think it's up until like 5 or 6
or
something.
Yeah, and then actually Yokohama is doing something new where they will continue that until they're even older, and they get like free healthcare for a really long time.
That's great.
You know? Yeah, it's great. Well, I think the copay is like 500 yen or something, but yeah, so basically you have to do that. But then for me, the confusing part was actually what to do in the United States for declaring that I had a child.
I have no idea what to do either. I'm assuming that I have to go to the embassy because I had to do that when we got married. I had to go register Yui as my wife.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming I'm gonna have to go do that also.
Yeah, it's so for me because no one knew what to do, so I was just like, okay, I typed in Google Sensei, what to do when your child is born abroad, USA, and it showed me what it is, and you have to. It's called like a CRBA. You have to do a consular report of a birth abroad, a CRBA, and it costs $100.
Fun,
and you need to get the Koseki Tohon. After, so you have to register at the Kuyakusho, then they have to update your family registry, and then you can apply for the CRBA.
Really? But the CRBA, you don't have to do that within 2 weeks.
No. It's just if you want to get a passport.
Yeah,
you have
which
to do
I have to because I'm going to Seattle.
Yeah, right.
Summer.
Yeah. And that'll take 6 weeks, by the way.
Yeah.
It was really funny because like so you have all these steps you need to do, and then when one thing that blew my mind is you have to get a translation of your family registry. Like you can't just put in the Japanese form. It has to be in English. You don't have to get like a notarized translation. You can translate it yourself. Yeah. But I'm just like, well, it's the embassy in Japan. They should have people who speak Japanese there. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I know. So you have to translate that. So you have to bring that. And
that's so weird.
Yeah, and you have to bring the original and a copy of the original, which you have to do in Japan a lot too. But the thing that was interesting for me is like you have to go with your spouse. Or if you don't go with your spouse, you have to get a notarized affidavit. So like an official notary has to be like, and for that notary, both of you have to go there to get to the notary public to get
I do understand the reasoning behind that. It's to keep like somebody kind of skipping off with their kid.
Yeah.
And kind of,
Well, yeah, it was so weird when I went to the embassy just the other day and like a month ago, and there was a sign that was kind of small, but it was up near the ceiling, and it basically said, if your child is notified for like being abducted, we can't give your child paperwork.
Oh, of
course. Because apparently like lots of mothers will try to like take their kids,
Yeah, I heard. I mean, it's probably over exaggerating to say it's a big deal, but it's definitely an issue.
Yeah, I know 2 people it's happened to.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, but so you have all this process, and then when you go to the embassy, you can apply for a passport too, which costs $130.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's actually something that just dawned on me the other day is Yui's got to get a new passport also.
Okay.
She changed her name to my last name.
Okay.
But her passport right now says her previous name.
Yeah.
And so we got to get that all sorted out. So it's like my next month is just paperwork.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just to tell you something. I'm not sure what passport you're going to use when you have to leave, but when we were going to the States, we used the U.S. passport for Lewis first time. And it was a blank passport, nothing in it. Yeah. So when we went to customs and we presented the passport of Lewis's ID, they're like, okay, when did he enter the country?
Now.
We're like, well, he was born here. They're like, yeah, where's the documentation?
Yeah.
It's like, it says on the passport. Yeah, but where's the documentation? We didn't have any documentation. So thankfully we had like a scan of our family registry that we showed them.
Yeah.
And after like 30 minutes of checking, they're like, okay, you can go. So be careful.
So I need
to
bring documentation.
Yeah, you need to bring it. If you use the U.S. passport, Japanese passport's okay.
I'll probably use a Japanese passport then.
Yeah, dude. That was very surprising for me.
Yeah. It's kind of like, when did they enter the country? It's like, we are entering the country now.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious for you. So like when you went to the hospital and you saw your daughter for the first time, you held her. What was that experience like for you?
It's kind of difficult to put it into words, to be honest. Yeah. Like, I think I've mentioned to you the past couple months that like I'm excited to be a dad, but it kind of hasn't like hit me yet.
Yeah.
And it was like, seeing my wife pregnant, and it was just kind of like, oh yeah, there's a baby in there. And then she got really ganky like last week, and she was just moving a ton.
Luna, the baby, right?
Yeah. She was moving a ton, like all the time. And something that's really cool is we've been talking to her a lot. Like I read books to her.
Oh, cool.
She was in the womb and stuff. And Yui did the same. And she, I mean, maybe this might be me just kind of like imposing my own ideas, but like I really feel like she responds to her own name.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Because if you like before Yui gave birth, like we would say her name. Her name's Luna.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, Luna, and she'd start moving around, and
cool.
like her hand would go over to like where you're talking.
Yeah.
And she recognizes it now too when you talk to her, and that was kind of like the first time where it just like, I have a child.
Yeah. Right.
Whoa. And then when my wife gave birth and we did a video call, and like seeing my baby for the first time, because it's like it's weird because like. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And like, this might sound really strange, but I don't know if it's actually that strange of a thought. But like, when I saw it, I was like, wait, is this really my baby? Like,
I felt the same way too, man.
Did I have a kid?
Yeah.
Like,
I know that's my baby, but is that really my baby?
Yeah. It's like, I had this like mini panic attack. I'm like, wait. Is this my baby? Like, oh my God. And then, so I don't know. I was really excited to meet her, but I had this like sinking feeling, like I think it's called like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Where you just like you don't feel like you're living your life.
Yeah.
Right. You feel like you're living someone else's life, and that's what I had like traveling to Oita.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, man, this doesn't feel right. Like I don't feel like I belong here.
Yeah. Is this really my baby? Am I really a dad?
Yeah. And then. So I arrived in Oita, which that day was absolute hell.
Yeah.
By the way, so I booked my flight because like my wife's like, I'm in labor, you need to get here now, and I'm just like, all right, cool, I'm coming. And so I booked my flight at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And the only flight that was leaving was in Narita.
Okay.
So I live in Shonan.
Yeah. Right.
So that is a 2.5 hour. Oops, sorry. That is a 2.5 hour train ride. At 8 a.m. So I woke up at 4 a.m. and I'm just like, oh my God, okay, I got to get the train. And I'm not even exaggerating. I had a panic attack on the train because I'm like, I'm going to miss my flight. Oh my God, I got to get on the train. And I get to the train I get to the airport and I arrive and I'm going up to the checkout place or check-in place. And they're like, you can't check in. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, it's 20 minutes before boarding, and that's the limit, so you missed your flight.
Oh man.
And I was like, dude, my baby is being born, please can I get on this plane? And they're just like, look, we can't, there's nothing to do, like they've already closed the door, they're getting ready to take off. And I'm just like, so I had to book another flight. But the only flight, the next available flight was to Fukuoka,
okay,
which it's still relatively near Oita, but you have to take like a 2.5 hour, like it's not really a Shinkansen, but it's kind of like
an express train.
Yeah. So I had to get that. So I flew out there and I arrive in Fukuoka and I get in this taxi and there's this 72-year-old guy and he's just like, wow, you look really cool. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, yeah, are you German? I'm like, no, I'm American. He's like, you look smart. So I thought you were German. He's like, thanks, man. Yeah, he's like, so why are you in Fukuoka? And I'm like, well, my wife's giving birth today.
You never answer honestly to those guys.
And he's like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I bet foreign babies look really nice. And I'm just like, yeah, man. He was a nice guy. I mean, we had a chat, but he like gave me a little piece of hard candy. He was like, there you go. It's so cool that you're 33. I wish I was 33 again. It's like, oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, you have fun, grandpa. But I was really impressed at the moment because that was kind of like if I was in that situation like a year and a half ago, I would be terrified because the guy couldn't speak English at all.
Okay.
And so I was kind of proud of myself. I'm like, oh, cool. I've evolved.
Oh yeah, you speak Japanese a bit. Great.
Yeah. But anyway, so I get on the train and it's this like 2.5 hour train ride. And I was just like exhausted at the point where I'm just like, look, just here's money, put me somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I'm riding this train. Finally, I get there at 5:30 p.m.
Okay. So this is you woke up at 4, and what time did you leave your house?
I left at 4.
You left at 4, and now it's
3.
And now it's 5 p.m.
It's 5 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah. So I finally arrive at the clinic at 5:45.
Okay.
And my mother-in-law picked me up, and she was really excited about it. And so I finally arrive, and I'm sitting here having another panic attack. I haven't slept in like 13, or I haven't slept in like close to 30 hours at this point. And I'm just drained.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, God, it's not that I didn't want to be there, but
I know.
I had that mentality, right? And I walk into the clinic, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, you're Mr. Miller, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Wow, your baby's really cute." And I'm just like, "Thank you. Can I see my wife now?" They're like, "Yeah, just go through that door." And so I go through, and I walk in, and I see my wife, and she's eating dinner. She didn't know I was coming.
She didn't know you were coming.
Well, she knew I was coming, but not at that time. And then I saw my baby lying on like a little table or like bed table thing.
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of like hit me. I'm like, that is a child right there.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Do you want to hold her?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I want to hold her." So I picked her up, and it was like, she immediately turned to me and just stared at me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain it when a baby stares at you.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, when a normal person, when an adult stares at you, right? It's like you're listening. Like, it kind of implies that they're listening to you. But when a baby stares at you, it's like they're so fascinated and fixated on what they're looking at because everything's a new experience for a baby, right? So it's like, imagine seeing something new for the first time. That's what a baby's life is like for the first like few months, right? And so she was looking at me and just fixated on my face, and it was just like, after that, nothing mattered. Yeah, you know, and it was just such a beautiful moment. Like, you know, I looked at her and I was like, okay. Yeah, I'm a dad. This is my child. Yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And it was like, it was just such a great moment. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I told when you said nothing else mattered. Yeah. I totally get that. Like that really puts into words how I felt too, man. Yeah. But yeah, it's like nothing really matters. Like like any other. So for me, like all the other ambitions that I had, they're like gone. It's all about this kid now, you know?
Yeah. Man. And, you know, I was really stressed with work and everything too, because like my school's like super busy right now, and like we're about to enter exams next week. So I've been freaking out. I'm like, dude, oh my God, like this is such an inconvenient time for me to, I've already missed 2 weeks, and like I need to be teaching my students and getting ready for exams. And like literally as soon as I walked in and saw my daughter, it was just like,
no, whatever. Who cares? No, this is the most important thing.
Yeah. So God, it was just such a beautiful moment. I've been watching like dad YouTube channels recently to kind of like, okay, here's how you take care of a baby as a dad, right? Yeah. And like I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on things. Like I watched some videos on how to like hold babies and stuff, and I'm like, okay, it's not too difficult. And then it's like, I don't know, like babies are really tough, but you know, I feel like pretty much everybody who holds a baby for the first time is like, oh
yeah, it's like,
I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I was that way too. I was really like cautious around holding my daughter, but yeah, it was really great.
Yeah, man.
I'm really sad though. I'm not going to see them for another month. So.
For another month? Yeah, because they have to stay there.
Yeah, she's not allowed to fly.
Dude, that's really tough. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I haven't seen Yui in almost 2 months now. Well, I mean, obviously I just saw her at the hospital. She hasn't been here in Kanagawa for 2 months. Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is, but
can you? So I mean, I know like plane tickets are expensive. Are you going to go back?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to go back one more time, because I'm going to go back with her.
Yeah.
So next month I'm going to fly out and probably spend a couple days with her family again. Yeah. And then fly back with her.
Okay.
Which is really funny because I feel like it's kind of weird when you're married to someone whose family isn't close by.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you live or when you're married to somebody and they're like their parents live like in the same town or something, it doesn't feel like you really have a chance to like spend a lot of time with them. And what I mean by this is like, take this for an example, right? Let's say you get married to someone here in Tokyo or here in Kawasaki, right? And their parents live in, I don't know, Musashi Shinjo, for example. So that's like nearby, right? You'll like take your baby and you'll go with your wife to like visit them, but then it's like a visiting trip. It's like you're there for like an hour or two, or maybe you're having dinner with them, but you go home, right? But because my wife's family's from Kyushu, right, I have to like make the investment. And you experience this too with your wife in Niigata. You have to make the investment to go live with the family for a while. Yeah. So I lived with my wife's family for 2 weeks, and almost half that time she was in the hospital. So it was just me
so it was just you
parents.
And them, right? Yeah.
And I was so intimidated by this when I was flying down there, because I'm just like, dude, like my Japanese isn't that good, and I'm going to be spending time with my in-laws, and my wife's not going to be there. Like, this is, oh God, this is horrible. And you know what? I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah. They're really wonderful people. And, it was kind of funny because my father-in-law, he actually got really sad when I was about to leave. Yeah. Like...
Oh, yeah, because he's like the only guy in the family, right?
Yeah, he's the only guy. So I've been kind of his drinking buddy for the past 2 weeks. Yeah. And so, like, he's had a lot of fun, like, talking about his job. Like, he's a civil engineer. He works at a quarry. Okay. So his job is, like, dealing with, like, dynamite and busting rocks and stuff. Oh, wow, okay. So he's got a pretty interesting job. And I don't think he's really had a chance to really talk about it to anyone. Yeah. So he's been like really excited just talking about stuff. Yeah. And he was really sad when I was leaving, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Your relationship changes with your in-laws once you have kids. Yeah. I feel like that makes you guys closer.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so for me, like my wife's family doesn't like talk so much. So for me, it was just kind of like I was doing my own thing. But yeah, it definitely. We got closer when we started talking more because we had kids, So I'm looking forward to seeing like how you guys develop your relationship. Yeah. And I think you guys will be seeing more of each other because they're going to want to come and see the kids.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think, I went to Oita for the first time last year. Yeah. When I had proposed to Yui at that point, and she made a notification like, hey, like we're thinking about getting married. So we went down there, and I'm a traditional guy. I like to go ask for permission. Like it just seems like the right thing to do, right? Yeah. So we went down there, and Oita's a beautiful place. It's a really nice place. I highly recommend it. It's got tons of waterfalls. Like it's like the nature is just amazing there. It's just filled with like these really nice mountains and like farmlands and everything. But there's not a lot of city there.
Yeah, well, right.
So when I first went down there, I was like, man, this is really like it's nice, but it's kind of boring. Yeah. But after going down there this last time and kind of getting closer to her family and everything, it's like I want to go down there multiple times a year now. Right. Especially now that I have my daughter.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But
or it might make sense for them to come and see you guys though. Right. So like. Yeah. Like I know with Natsumi's parents, so we go there for Osogatsu and Obon, every year. But they also will come down like twice a year or something to come see us. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm kind of curious, what are you going to do with your side of the family?
Yeah. So that's the other challenge. It's like trying to organize stuff to go visit my family in America.
Yeah.
So we're going down there this year in summer.
Okay.
So we're gonna fly over to Seattle, and I'm gonna spend a week or two over there. And so my parents will get time to spend with my daughter, and I'll meet my sister and my brother. And
yeah. So like the thing for me though, right, is like, so the thing that the tension, not the tension in my family, but the tension within me that I have is, my parents want to see my kids, right?
Yeah.
But they live very far away.
Yeah.
And of course we can share things. And we ended up, after Lewis was born, we started talking once a week on Zoom, talking with them, doing video calls and stuff. But of course they want to come and see in real life, right?
Yeah.
And so finding that balance is tough. But dude, plane tickets are getting expensive.
They're getting stupid expensive, man. So I think, what is it? Up until 1 year old, kids are free or something?
2 years old.
2 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got 2 summers worth of free tickets for Luna.
Well, they're not free. They're just like super discounted.
Yeah.
So like, because Lewis is now going to kindergarten, right? Yeah. So we can only leave at specific times because we don't want to interrupt his school. Yeah. Those tend to be the more expensive times. But so for me, Natsumi, Lewis and Leo, the 4 of us together, our tickets cost 60 万yen in total.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So do that twice a year.
Wow. No, twice a year is probably not something I can do.
Right.
I kind of had it in my head that we'll probably be visiting like once a year.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Are you going to be visiting them in like summer or Christmas, you think?
Probably summer.
Okay.
Just because I think it's the easiest. And honestly, Seattle sucks to visit in the winter.
That's true, yeah.
Seattle's just like a really boring place in the winter. In summer, the weather's actually really nice.
Yeah.
And it's not too hot, so I think it's a perfect time. Plus, dude, Japan sucks in the summer.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. Yeah.
I shouldn't say that because
it's just too hot.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do, and honestly, it's a really great place. And I live in Shonan, so it's probably going to be a really nice experience. But also, August sucks.
Yeah, August is super hot and humid, man.
Oh my god, it is so hot here.
Yeah, I mean, so back when tickets were reasonable and it was just me and Natsumi with no kids, we would go like twice a year. We go summer and Christmas. Yeah. And now I'm thinking it's going to be only Christmas, because for my family, Christmas is a really important thing.
Sure.
We've always, since we were little, always the extended family has always come around and stuff,
Yeah, same with us, actually.
Yeah. So that's kind of like navigating that is difficult for me. I wonder how it's going to be for you,
Yeah. My family's pretty spread out at this point. My brother lives in Woodinville. Yeah, so that's kind of like out in the countryside. Mm-hmm. My parents live in Edmonds now.
Edmonds, okay.
Yeah, so that's like...
Not Bothell?
No, they moved. Okay. They moved. Really bummed out. I really like that house. I grew up in that house.
Yeah, right.
They moved. They're getting old, and this is hard to upkeep it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they moved to Edmonds, and then my sister lives all the way out in Ellensburg.
Yeah.
So...
Dude, you're talking about like that's far, man. Like,
I don't know. Ellensburg is pretty far. And then...
but it's still the same state, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and then my eldest sister, Carrie, she lives like near Oregon.
Okay.
Like I think, was it Battlegrounds?
Is that the name of a town? Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
Dude, I wish I lived in Battlegrounds, Washington.
It's not really an exciting place.
No, but the name is exciting.
It sounds really cool though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Carrie and Chelsea are super far out, and my brother and my parents are probably like 40 minutes apart.
Okay.
So everyone's a little bit spread out. So it's going to be a little awkward when I go down there, because it's like you can't really see everyone all at once. You kind of got to like hop around places, and Carrie will probably come up, but everyone else is just like, this is where we are, so come see us. And it's like, all right.
Wow, man.
Yeah. But I'll try to make it work. I mean, that's just kind of one of the sacrifices you have to make when you move over here. Well, and not specifically Japan, but move to a different country.
Yeah,
you kind of
really
have to accept
away.
the fact that you're just not going to see your family that much.
Yeah.
Which when you're single isn't really a big deal.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, it's not that I didn't want to see my family, but I went a few years without going back, and I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah, but now that you have a kid, right?
But now that you have a kid, you can't do that because they want to see, they want to see your kid grow up and everything. So
and you want your kid to have a relationship with them too, you know?
Yeah.
Well, dude, I mean, I'm sure. So we're talking about this topic now, but this is definitely not settled. I'm sure as Luna gets older, we're going to be revisiting this topic more and more.
100%, man. Yeah. And I'm curious because like you're kind of like in the stage ahead of me.
Yeah, so I'm like 2 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but what's crazy is like, so because like I have one son that's pretty much the same age as Luna, just 2 months older.
Yeah.
I have another son that's 2 years older.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish I had someone ahead of me that I could talk to, you know? It's like
you're the dad senpai.
I'm the denpai.
The denpai.
Okay, we should end this here, man. We're getting strange. Okay, I'll talk to you next time.
See you, man.